First of all, I'd like to welcome everyone here today, and thank you for taking the time to join us for our first virtual open house of this year. My name is Heather Kidd, and I'm the Director of Enrollment Management, as well as the House Director for our Girls Residence Victoria Manor. So for our open house today, you'll be hearing from our head of school, Mr. Mark Muska, followed by a Q&A with two of our parents and two of our senior students. So just a few housekeeping items. I did want to mention that we are recording this session, and my colleague Tracy Colt, she will be manning our online chat, which is located at the bottom of your screen. So we're sure you've already visited our website and seen our virtual video, so we won't be showing that again today. We wanted you really to hear firsthand from some of our Albert family on their experiences here at Albert.College. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce our head of school, Mr. Mark Muska.
Thank you very much, Heather, and good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to see such interest in our school. Thank you, students, Michael and Talani, and to our parents at Tetro family. Thank you very, very much for joining us. I know that the folks online here want to hear what you have to say. So I'm just going to give you all just a very, very brief background on Albert.College in case you haven't spent as much time on the website. Albert.College is one of Canada's oldest schools. It's definitely Canada's oldest co-ed boarding and day school. So we are in our 165th year. So we've been educating international and local day students for well over a century. Albert.College is a relatively small school. So from grades 7 through to 12, we have about 200 students, and it's 50-50 day and boarding. So 100 students are local day students, 100 students are from around the world, and we draw students in from around 15 countries this year. For those who are not aware, we're situated in Belleville, and Belleville is really in the center of the most populous part of our country. We're just 2 hours to Toronto, we're 3 hours to Montreal, we're 2.5 hours from Ottawa. And there's some real advantages to being in Belleville. One, because of where we're situated, we're in a smaller location. When you think of the great Canadian outdoors, Belleville has all of that to offer and more. We're situated right along the Bay of Quinte, which is attached to Lake Ontario. And we have easy access to things like hiking trails, ski hills, camping trips. So there's just so much for the students to do here in Belleville, but we're not so far enough away from the larger cultural centers that they can't also enjoy Toronto, Montreal, and Ottawa, and all of those what those cosmopolitan centers have to offer. I've worked in big schools, I've worked in small schools, and I really enjoy the benefits of being in a small school. And as you could imagine, in a small school, everyone gets to know everyone very, very well. And this lends itself to what we consider, what we call the family, the Albert.College family. Everyone knows each other so well. Teachers know the students know each other. And even teachers, even students that aren't in a teacher's class, the teacher knows them because that teacher might also be the basketball coach or the volleyball coach. And so there's a real sense of camaraderie. And in a small school where everyone knows each other, there's easy support for your child. We follow the Ontario curriculum. So after 4 years of high school, your child will graduate with an Ontario secondary school diploma. And that means that they will then be ready, that's their passport onto university, whether that's in Ontario or Canada, or indeed around the world. But we follow the Ontario curriculum in the classroom. We, of course, add on so much more on top of that. And if you've been on our website, we refer to that as our 5 A's. Our 5 A's are academics, of course, athletics, the arts, active citizenship, and adventure. And it states, our belief in educating the whole child. So yes, it's very, very important for your child to be successful academically, but it's also important for them to be well-rounded. And more we're finding, especially in the more competitive university programs, when students are applying, they're getting asked questions. What experiences do you have outside of the classroom? Why should we accept you? What are you bringing to the table outside of the classroom? So it's really important that students are able to point to things, experiences in the arts, in active citizenship, in adventure, so that when they apply to university, they can fill out those portions of the applications. I'm going to leave it there because I know you want to hear from the students, you want to hear from the parents, and they can answer your specific questions. But again, I want to thank you very, very much for coming on this morning, and look forward to answering your questions later. Heather, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Muska. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our panelists for this morning. So as a university prep school, we really wanted to focus on some of the benefits of attending our small family school, as well as get the perspective from some of our current Albert family. So first, I'd like to introduce Christine and Stefan Tetrol, and they are current parents joining us from Quebec. Their son Benji is currently in grade 11 boarding, and this is his first year with us. And I think Benji's little brother is interested in joining us in the fall as well, which is great. Next, we have Talani Akinabola, and she is currently boarding with us in grade 12, and this is her second year with us. And then last but not least, we have Michael Coven, and Michael is a grade 9 multi-boarding student, and this is his first year with us here at Albert. So let's start with Christine and Stefan. So a couple parts to this question. First, how did you hear about Albert.College, given that you're living in Quebec, and why did you end up choosing us? And then the second part is, in which way is the school what you expected, and in which way is it not? So over to you.
Thank you, Heather. So we did a lot of research to look for a boarding school for Benji a few years ago. So due to COVID, we had to wait a little bit longer than what we wanted. And we're looking for any school. So we even went to Ireland, we visited a lot of locations, we visited a lot of places that we're looking for. And when we looked, is what we liked about Albert.College was the story behind it. First of all, also, Benji was, when he was looking at the school and we looked at it on the web, it was liking the video, what he was saying about the school. And it was really the history of it, the community of the school. He was saying there were sports, there were art, there were multiple things that was bucket list for him and bucket list for us. So it was a good thing. We looked both on our own side. We actually did our list of school that we liked. He did his own list of school, and we're looking for the one that was matching.
Right.
And, Albert.College was one that we matched. So when we enrolled, it was really happy that it went well. The process went really well for us with Albert.College to get in. What we liked when we arrived, the way it worked, and what was surprising us is the size of the school. It was like when we got there, it's not too big. It was very easy to get familiar with the school on the first day even. We were there, and when we left, we felt like we understood the school. We were very surprised how friendly everybody is. And it's like a family at one point, a little bit. The teacher are all together. The student are all together. We saw student talking to us, very happy with us from multiple culture. And you could see they were happy to do it. They had a blast doing it, getting Benji on board. Yeah. So you could feel it. You can feel that from the student. It wasn't a force. It was welcoming. It was a lot of fun for all of us. And we felt that. And that was shocking to us, how friendly and how everything was. It's still a school at the end of the day. We're going to school. But no, it doesn't seem like it when they got into it. So it was extremely surprising when we left. It was like, we were very happy. We're like, okay, he's going to get along. And surprisingly as well, he did. He got along with everybody. On the first week, they went to camp. Second week, he barely called home. And Benji's guy, he calls home. So like he was busy. You can see he was busy. So it was extremely shocking to us how well it went, because for him, it was a big step from leaving a French school to an English school, and how well it was going to transition. So that's how we felt.
Oh, that's wonderful. And, it's great to hear you say that, because we always tell prospective families, just try to come to visit. If you can just get on our campus, you really do get that sense of family when you walk onto our campus. So thank you for sharing that.
Welcome.
Talani, you're next. So Talani, you joined us in grade 11 last year, but due to the pandemic, you spent the first 6 months remote, and you didn't arrive until the end of January of last year in person. So that sometimes can be difficult, especially when friendships have been already formed. You're an integral part of our Victoria Manor residents and a big sister and role model to many of our girls. So what advice would you give to any student joining us? And is there anything that you wish you had known then that you now know now?
Okay. The biggest piece of advice I would give to any new student joining Albert.College would be to relax. Due to the fact that I spent my first half of my first year at Albert.College online, I had a lot of fear and anxiety at the beginning of the year that I wouldn't be able to fit in as well as everyone else did, due to the fact that they were in person and I was online. Soon after that, I began to realize that I worried for nothing, as both teachers and students did create an impeccable effort to involve me in as many activities, even though there were thousands of miles separating us. As you begin your journey at Albert.College, you begin to see that it really is a tight-knit community where everyone feels involved and loved, no matter the cultural differences, and you are sure to create relationships and friendships that will definitely last a lifetime.
Good, thank you. Now, Michael, this is your first year with us, but your cousin and your sister also attended Albert. So I know that you are quite familiar with us even before you started in grade 9. So was Albert what you expected? And if so, in what way? And if not, in what way?
Well, Albert was what I expected in that I'd been to Albert a few times to visit my cousin and sister. And while I was there, just met some of the students and staff. And they're all really, really nice and quite frankly knew me before I knew them. And coming into grade 9, not really knowing anyone, the positive atmosphere of Albert made it really easy to connect and meet new people. What I did not expect was how much Albert was involved within the Belleville community. One of the 5 A's that Mr. Muska mentioned earlier is active citizenship. And I had no idea that Albert was so involved in things like helping with the Special Olympics swim meet that's coming up, volunteering at retirement homes, or even the Big Brothers Big Sisters mentorship program.
Wonderful. And I also know that you're newly involved in our Duke of Edinburgh program, which is an outdoor adventure. There's lots of things to do with this program. So can you tell us a little bit about your experience so far with this program?
Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect coming into Duke of Ed. So I currently am halfway through my bronze level and I'm thinking about doing the silver level next year.
Right.
So far, I've really enjoyed doing Duke of Ed and through it, challenged myself to learn new skills. I've enhanced my guitar playing and I've tried to better myself in long distance running. The Duke of Ed camping trip was also really fun. For the bronze level, we went to Silent Lake Provincial Park and did lots of team building exercises.
I remember seeing the pictures and thinking this must be so amazing for some of these kids who it's their very first experience, especially if you're coming from another country, right? Christine and Stefan, this is your son Benji's first year at Albert in grade 11, as I mentioned. Prior to attending Albert, though, he was attending a Francophone school in Quebec. Can you talk a little bit about the transition and coming directly into an English-speaking school, not only academically, but socially as well?
Of course, it was a challenge for him at the beginning, especially even before attending. I'm going to say the stress factor was a challenge. Coming from a Francophone school his whole life, English as a second language, even, I'm going to be honest, struggling at the English, courses in French school. Right. He's like, I'm going to do English as a whole school. So it was that one of the stressful thing he had to go through when we started. The school was very good to finding a way for him. First of all, the way the schedule is done, it's very structured. And Benji likes structure. The days are very redundant. They come back every 2 or 3 days. He's getting used to that structure. He had the help from the teacher. He had a free class every 2 or 3 days he's got to study and help him out. So he really felt like he wasn't alone. Like every teacher was sitting with him, they were talking to him if he had a problem. Also being in school as a boarding student, it's easier because he's got the tool all around him and he's been using them as much as he can. And we felt like the teacher were very open and discussing with him when he had challenges, and it worked. We're very, very surprised of his grade. He is very happy with his grade. He is very competitive overall as a person. And Albert does a great job of keeping them, on multiple scale. And that's cool. Just all activity that the A's are saying. They keep them competing, as a fun, as a hobby. Like he really likes the boarding school competition between stuff. He likes it all. So he's competing to get that grade and he wants to succeed. And he feels like everybody wants him to succeed with him. So it was really good for him. And it's going really well since. We were very, very surprised with the grade. Yeah,
he's doing extremely well. Thank you. Talani, I know that we were all very excited a few weeks ago when you received an early acceptance to Carleton University, which is one of your top choices. Can you tell us a little bit about the application process and the support that you've received from our guidance department?
Yeah, so application processes to anywhere, they're always stressful, but applying to university at Albert.College was made so much easier with the love and support that I was shown by the staff and the students. Our guidance director, Ms. Weldon, has made the effort to make sure we do what we're supposed to do when we're supposed to do it. And she's had multiple meetings with all grade 12 students as a whole to guide us through the application process and make sure we're doing what we're supposed to do. She's also made the effort to have individual meetings with every single grade 12 student to make sure we were meeting our admission requirements. With the help and support from everyone at Albert College, I was able to breeze through the application process with little to no issues and also still gain admission into one of my top choices. This really did show how helpful and supportive the Albert College community is, because everyone was able to help in whatever way they could, and they were able to provide resources that I was able to use to gain admission. So yeah.
Great. I know in the residences, as students get their acceptances, there's lots of squeals and tears and happiness and hugs. So it's always, I love this time of year when everybody's getting all of those results back. Michael, Mr. Muska spoke earlier about the 5 A's, and as you know, adventure is one of them. We start off every year with the staff and students heading to our orientation camp in Algonquin Park at Camp Tamaqua. So can you tell us a little bit about your experience heading into camp, what some of your favorite parts of that weekend were?
Sure. Camp Tamaqua still remains one of my favorite memories that happened this year at Albert. I came the morning we went to Camp Tamaqua really knowing like 2 or 3 people. But over the bus ride there and over the next few days, I got to know not only the people in my class better, but also people in other grades. I made friends pretty easily just by, talking to people and finding common ground. And from, an activity that Albert really does that helps with getting to know people is essentially you draw a piece of paper, and that piece of paper has an image on it, and you go to that table with the image on it. And through that, I met lots of different people who I'm friends with now. My favorite part of camp was the advisor skit night. We partnered with another advisor group, and half of us played and sang Wonderwall by Oasis, while the other half did a basketball themed skit.
Yes, those are always very interesting skits that night at camp and lots of fun. Christine and Stefan, what did you notice was the biggest change at Albert College from Benji's previous school?
Self-structure, like he was getting structured and organized. In his previous school, like he was not like, nothing was organized or structured the way he was handling his school. It was always last second. Mommy had to follow up on him, a lot. Mommy had to be on top of his, on his task at school or at home. What we noticed right away, the structure worked for him. Like he liked it, he got into it. We saw he was motivated to do his task, whatever it was, like he didn't matter, he had a schedule. So that's one of the things we noticed. He kind of grew up by still being a kid, when he's back home, he's still 17, so we see a difference between back home and at Albert College as well. When we visited, it's a pretty big gap, mommy's still home. There's a chance between the two of it, but we noticed it, and we can see his maturity. And even with his friend, because he's got friend now, we had people over from Germany, Mexico, Barbados last week, so he's making friends around the world from Asia, and we've been to China a lot. So he's got a lot of friends from everywhere. He loved Chinese New Year's when you guys celebrate, because he knew what it was. A few weeks ago, you guys celebrated it.
Yeah.
So that's what we noticed me the most is really, he loves the structure, but he likes it. He likes to be in that structure. He finds the weekend entertaining. He loves the activities. So he's growing up, not fast, because again, he's still 17 when he's home. And when we see him then, we talk to him, we can feel it. Christine, you want to add?
Oh, but it's true. He's really, he was getting more lazy at home. He was like everything was so easy for him, being in Montreal, now being in other area, other space, other school, other friends. He's motivated to learn and to hear about people, and it made a big difference, a really huge difference for him. It was, and he didn't feel like he was left alone either at Albert College. We talk about family, and we really senses all the family that Albert College is giving them all the way, and that it was one of the amazing things that I saw. It's just great for that. I know that he's well surrounded, and he can be a lazy 17 years old when he comes home.
Can't they all, right? You both touched on something which I'd just like to mention quickly, is the friendships and the international part of our school.
Oh, yeah.
we have kids coming from all over the world, as Mr. Muska said. So, when we have the February break weekend coming up, some of those students obviously can't just fly home for the weekend. So we count on some of our local boarders and our local day students to act as hosts for our international students. And it really helps to give them just another layer of that Canadian experience while they're here. So I do want to thank you for doing that, because that's a very important part of the Albert family, is opening up your homes and like you do. So that's great. Thank you. Talani, as a boarding student, can you talk to us a little bit about life in boarding house? Just some of the activities and the impromptu activities that seem to happen naturally. It's quite a crazy place sometimes.
So you're right. Life in residence is actually crazy, but I could not have asked for a better high school experience. Being at the Manor, I have created relationships that I'm so sure will last a lifetime. And it also does help bridge the age gap, as I currently have a friend group that consists of people from like every grade at the school, from grade 7 through 12. And when we hang out together, it almost feels like we're all the same age and we all have really similar experiences that we can all relate to, because we're actually a pretty diverse friend group, and we're scattered all over the world. And everyone at the Manor has, in fact, affected my high school experience in one way or the other. And I do appreciate that. I do appreciate them for that. And the Manor staff, or as we like to call them, Manor moms, have played an impeccable role in my life, because being thousands of miles away from home, I really did begin to realize how much of a big role that these Manor moms play. And the events that they plan, I'm not sure I would have been able to have the opportunity to attend these events if I hadn't come to Albert.College. And these are events like apple picking, or national sports games like soccer and hockey, or fashion shows, and also participating in traditions from different cultures around the world. And I do appreciate the Manor staff for this. And they are an incredible set of people that are willing to help in any way that they can and with any resource that they have. And as you live at the Manor, you do begin to see the support and love that they do show the students, and not just the Manor students, but Albert.College students as a whole. So they do really contribute to the community at Albert.College.
Ah, thank you. That's very sweet. As we talk about, Albert.College is a school, but it's also your home. So, I mean, to us, it's very important that all of the students feel like it's their home, because you are, as you say, thousands and thousands of miles away from your actual family. So we kind of become your pseudo family in the interim. Thank you. Michael, you live in Kingston and you attend as a day student, but you actually board 2 nights a week in our boarding house, which is good, because that cuts down some of the travel time to and from Kingston, which is about, an hour away. So by staying in the dorms, I know it leaves you more time to participate in various activities. So can you talk a little bit about what experience is like living in Baker House, which is our junior boys residence, and how it's going to help keep you focused?
I've so far I've had a really positive experience boarding in Baker. Study halls really helped me, because it really is just a designated time each night to just sit down, do your homework, or like study for a quiz. And if you're allowed to go to other people's room and help them with homework. But one of the reasons why I enjoy staying over is I have a lot more time for both work and play. Boarding makes things like group projects easier, since you don't have to do it over like FaceTime. And some activities that I do with my friends after study hall are just things like basketball, ping pong, foosball, or just going to the weight room. And I'm really, like, after experiencing this positive experience, I'm really looking forward to boarding the whole week soon.
I know you are. I'm not sure your mom's quite ready for that, but we'll keep working on her, okay? All right. Well, you know what? Thank you to all of you for sharing your stories with us today. Mr. Muska and I can go on and talk about how much we love Albert, but I really think it's just so important for our current students and our parents to really share your personal experiences with those that are considering Albert.College. So again, thank you. We really appreciate all of our help from our panelists, which is wonderful. And then just before we close things off, I did want to tell you just a little bit about the application process. And as we talked, there's a few of our infographics here, but you know, our guidance counseling and things like that are very important, especially for our grads. In order to apply, everything is located online. So there's a complete an online application. There is a $100 application fee. We ask for 2 years academic report cards. There's a teacher evaluation to be submitted. And if English is your first language, there is a 40-minute standardized test that we have students write. And if English is not your first language, then there are various language assessments that we will accept. Once all of that is completed, then we would arrange to do an interview either in person, or one thing we've learned through the pandemic is that we can do a lot of these things virtually. So if you're not able to get here on campus for a tour, then we can do everything virtually as well. Just our fees, again, everything is located on our website. So we have fees for international students, and we break down our fees for middle school, which is grades 7 and 8, and then senior school. Canadian students' fees as well. And then we do have scholarships and bursaries, financial aid available to students. We do award over $500,000 annually, which is great as such a small school that we are able to help as many people as we can. So about 32% of all of our students receive some form of tuition assistance, either based on need or based on merit. So if you are applying for bursary assistance, we have a third-party company called Apple Financial Services that's available on the website. If you're applying for a scholarship, there is a scholarship application, and that will be looked at along with your application for admission. Again, we talk about our post-secondary, and on average, all of our students, senior students, receive an average of 10 hours of one-on-one individualized counseling with our guidance department. And I know, as Talani said before, it can be pretty stressful with all of these applications, but it's great to have that support to help them through. And then again, I know we have our chat open, so if there's any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. If you would like to come and spend a day, please feel free to contact us, or if you would like even just a one-on-one Zoom chat with one of our enrollment associates, please feel free to reach out, and we can organize that as well. Okay, so Tracy, do we have anything in our chat?
We only had one question about basketball, asking if we have indoor basketball court. I have answered directly to the person, and yes, we do have an indoor basketball court, and our teams use it for practices and games, as well as our boarding students may use it in the evenings and on weekends for pickup games, etc.
Yeah, it's very popular. Wouldn't you say, Michael? Yeah. All right. Well, if nobody else has any questions, it's wonderful to see so many people joining us today. And again, just a huge thank you to our parents and our students for taking time out of your busy schedules and for sharing your stories of Albert with the others. So again, thank you so much. And Mr. Musk, I wasn't sure if you had any final words.
No, I was just going to echo what you said. I want to thank everyone for joining us, both from around the world, but also our panelists for taking time. Really, really appreciate you joining us today. Thank you.